At 30 years old, Sam Bankman-Fried was being compared to the greatest minds of his generation. He didn't look like a billionaire. He didn't act like one. He wore shorts, messy hair, and slept on a beanbag. And that was exactly why people trusted him. While Wall Street wore suits, Sam Bankman-Fried looked like the future. In less than 5 years, he built a crypto empire, valued at over $30 billion. Politicians praised him. Celebrities promoted him. The media crowned him a genius. And then, almost overnight, it all collapsed. More than $8 billion of customer money vanished. Not lost in the market. Not stolen by hackers, but quietly redirected behind the scenes. This is not just the story of FTX. It's the story of how intelligence, youth, and moral branding became the most powerful camouflage in modern finance. To understand how this happened, you have to forget everything you think a scam looks like. There were no fake websites, no anonymous founders, no obvious lies at first glance. What made this fraud so effective was that it didn't feel criminal. It felt responsible. Sam Bankman-Fried didn't sell greed. A sold safety, he sold regulation, he sold the idea that crypto could finally grow up. And that promise disarmed everyone who should have been skeptical. Before the money, before the fame, Sam was just another math-obsessed kid. He studied physics at MIT. He spoke in probabilities. He framed every decision as an equation. Early on, he embraced a philosophy called effective altruism. The idea that the best way to help the world was to make as much money as possible so you could later give it away. This wasn't a marketing gimmick at first. It became his moral shield. Because when someone claims they're getting rich to save the world, questioning them starts to feel immoral. His first real success came from crypto arbitrage, buying Bitcoin cheaply in one country and selling it at a higher price in another. The trades worked. The profits were real. And that early legitimacy mattered, because from that moment on, Sam wasn't pitching an idea, he was pointing to results. That's a critical difference. People don't fall for explanations. They fall for outcomes. In 2019, he launched FTX, a cryptocurrency exchange designed for professional traders. It promised speed, sophistication, and innovation. But more importantly, it promised control. FTX wasn't chaotic like other crypto platforms. It felt structured, clean, institutional. This was crypto built by someone who understood systems, not hype. And investors noticed. Venture capital poured in. Sequoia, SoftBank, BlackRock, names that signaled credibility to the rest of the market. Here's where the first loop opens, because while FTX was positioning itself as safe, transparent, and compliant, a second company was operating quietly alongside it, Alameda Research. Officially, Alameda was a separate hedge fund. In reality, it was the engine that made the entire illusion possible. And almost no one was watching the connection closely enough. Alameda traded aggressively. It took massive risks. It lost money constantly. And instead of failing, it was silently propped up using customer funds from FTX. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It wasn't a gray area. It was a structural flaw embedded deep into the system. FTX customers believed their deposits were untouched, sitting safely on the platform. But behind the interface, billions were being siphoned into Alameda to cover losses, fund trades, and maintain the appearance of success. What made this possible wasn't just bad accounting, it was design. FTX's internal code reportedly allowed Alameda to have special privileges. Negative balances, unlimited borrowing. No liquidation triggers. In simple terms, Alameda was playing a different game, with different rules, using money that didn't appeal to Italiano. And yet, no alarms went off. That's the disturbing part. Not because the evidence wasn't there, but because trust had already replaced verification. FTX didn't need to prove it was solvent. It felt solvent. The brand did the work. The endorsements did the work. The confidence did the work. Sam Bankman-Fried became a fixture in Washington. He testified before Congress. He donated millions to political campaigns. He positioned himself as the adult in the room, calling for crypto regulation while privately breaking the most basic financial rule of all: Don't touch customer money. This contradiction didn't raise suspicion. It eliminated it, because people assumed no one asking for regulation could be hiding something worse. Here's the psychological trap. When someone appears smarter than you and more ethical than you, your brain stops looking for danger. You outsource judgment. That's not stupidity. That's efficiency. And it's exactly what this system exploited. The collapse didn't begin with an audit or an investigation. It began with a question. In November 2022, a report revealed that much of Alameda's balance sheet consisted of a token created by FTX itself. This meant the empire wasn't built on external value. It was built on self-referential assets. Tokens propping up loans that funded a company that issued the tokens. A closed-loop fragile, self-reinforcing, dangerous. Once that trust cracked, everything accelerated. Withdrawals surged. FTX couldn't meet them. The money wasn't there, because it had already been spent. Within days, the platform froze. Within a week, it filed for bankruptcy, and the true scale of the damage became impossible to hide. Over $8 billion in customer funds were missing. Not misplaced, not temporarily inaccessible. Gone. Everyday users, institutional clients. People who believed they were using the safest exchange in crypto. The shock wasn't just financial. It was existential, because if this could happen here, it could happen anywhere. Sam Bankman-Fried went from genius to liability almost instantly. Interviews became apologies. Confidence turned into confusion. He claimed he didn't realize what was happening, that he lost track, that it was a mistake, not a scheme. But systems don't accidentally move billions of dollars. Structures don't accidentally grant unlimited access. This wasn't chaos. It was designed without restraint. This is where the final loop closes, because FTX didn't fail due to innovation. It failed due to something much older. The same force behind Ponzi schemes, corporate frauds, and financial collapses for over a century. The belief that trust can replace controls, that intelligence can replace accountability, that good intentions can replace structure. What makes this scandal uniquely dangerous is what it normalized. A generation learned that looking ethical is more important than being transparent. That complexity discourages scrutiny. That confidence can override evidence, and that as long as the right people believe in you, the system will look the other way. Sam Bankman-Fried didn't just steal money. He borrowed belief from investors, from users, from regulators. And once belief was gone, the entire system collapsed under its own weight. The lesson here isn't about crypto, it's about pattern recognition. Whenever you see a founder described as too smart to fail, too well-intentioned to lie, or too unconventional to be dangerous, that's not reassurance. That's camouflage. The technology will change. The assets will change. The language will evolve. But the structure remains the same. If this story felt unsettling, it should, because the next version won't look like this one. It won't wear the same face. It won't use the same words, but it will rely on the same human shortcut. Trust before verification. And by the time the truth becomes obvious, the money will already be gone. If you want to understand how modern financial fraud actually works, not just the headlines, not just the villains, but the systems that allow them to exist, subscribe to the channel, because the most dangerous scams don't look illegal. They look intelligent. They look ethical. And they look exactly like the future.